Good morning, and a good new week to everybody here. Mitzvah Shem, this week we plan on covering the third Perek of Pirkei Avos. Okay, so let's get started right away. Mishna Aleph, Rabbi Omer, Ezehu, sorry, wrong one. Kavi ben Mahalal Omer. You should look at three things. You should focus on three things, and that will prevent you from chas v'shalom ever sinning. Number one, da me'ayin basa. And the Mishnah is going to go ahead and explain. You should know where you come from. You should know ula'an atahelech, where are you going? And to whom, before whom will you eventually have to stand in judgment? So the Gemara, the Mishnah explains, ma'ayin basa, from where are you coming from? Mitipa surucha, from a putrid drop. This is referring to, of course, the beginning of every man, every human. We start off as a putrid drop. That's where we all, at conception, that's where we come from. And the point of this is just that you should go ahead and realize. Now, of course, if you're about to be taken over by passion in a sin, and you are, there's either whatever the sin is, and stopping and to think about that I come from a putrid drop is not going to change much. I don't know anybody who's going to have the willpower to stop. He's about to do a sin, overcome by lust or passion or whatever, and or greed or whatever the sin is, and he's like, you know what, I come from a putrid drop. This is more of something when you're planning your life. What should I do? When you're using your cheshbon, like we saw in the previous Perek, that one of the ways to go through life is you should look into the future. That meant that if you're going and you're making a mathematical cheshbon, trying to focus on and making decisions logically, so then keep these things in mind when you make logical decisions. Should I plan on becoming this, or should I plan on becoming that? Should I go into this job? Should I go into that job? Well, which job has more spiritual, more of a spiritual, leanings, or where will I be more successful in my spirituality? In those type of things, when you're making logical decisions, so then it helps to go ahead and focus beforehand on these three things. So number one, remember that all humans we all came from the same thing. So this is going to help you with gaiva. Number two, where are you going? To a place of earth and bugs and rot and maggots. So this is coming to tell you that don't put too much emphasis on the body, because this body is eventually going to wear out and be eaten. So the Rav says over here that it means don't go ahead and eat too much and be involved in gluttonous pleasures. And you could say, like, I really don't care about that. But you could also say, don't focus too much on the body. You want to beautify yourself. You want to go ahead and spend $50 on a haircut. Hello, it's all going to be gone soon. And especially if a person is working out, let's say, in order for an outlet, that's fine. Or if a person wants to go ahead and he needs for health, that's fine. But if it's because he wants to look good, he wants to and I don't mean look good because he wants to maintain that, but the physical shape. I'm saying, but he's working on his body because like the Greek philosophy is his idol, then that's a problem, because this is the thing you should focus on, that it's going to be gone, and forget Rima V'Soleya. When you're 50, it's going to be flabby anyway. So and before whom are you going to be giving a din and cheshbon? Who are you going to come and give cheshbonis before? Is eventually one is going to have to stand in judgment in front of Hashem. And this, of course, should be the thing that gives you the most fear, that everything you're doing, every single thing that happens on this world is going to have to be explained to Hashem. And there's a famous Vilna Gaon that explains din is what you did. Cheshbon is to, hey, while you were doing that, you could have been doing something else. Not only are you going to have to pay for the sin, but while you were sinning, you could have been doing something better. So you're going to have to also explain why you weren't doing something better. So in every sin, there also comes in that package, also you should have been doing something better during that time. Now, even if you don't want to take this to sin, we should always be using our time properly. For example, there's so many people who work on killing time, and you have these phone games that literally people spend hours and hours and hours on daily. People spend hours playing these absolutely mind-numbing games. I'm telling you, it's not. What you should do is, let's say a person has, in his bathroom. So you should get, even if you want to get, You can get a Shalom Bayis book, get a child rearing book, learn something during that time. Use your brain. If you have a Shalom Bayis book, Men Are From Mars, even a secular book, but at least you'll be gaining during that time. You want a Gadol book? You can take a Gadol book into the bathroom and learn, gain chizuk during that time. But use all your time. Don't ever spend, I'm telling you, unless you need that time to space out. But how much time does a person need to space out? Maybe 20 minutes a day. Don't get addicted to these games. That is it's a terrible thing to do. I don't want to say the worst thing because there are worse things, but it's a terrible thing to do. To go ahead and just become and use your brain, especially let's say you're in college. So use that time in the bathroom to go ahead and review last year's material. So if you ever have an exam or something like that. So you're on the ball. At least you know what you're becoming a professional doctor, a professional lawyer, professional whatever. At least you'll be on the ball with what you're learning. My point is, don't waste time. That's what cheshbon is. Cheshbon is to explain the waste of time. Number 2, you should daven for the peace of the community, of the government. Because if it was not for the fear of the government, a person would swallow his friend alive. Meaning that the only reason why there's somewhat a semblance of normalcy outside is because people are scared of the police and of spending the rest of their life in jail. And therefore, that's why you're not worried when you pass a stranger in the street that he's then going to pull a gun and shoot you just because you have 25 cents. So, because if he was not fearful of that, then what would prevent a person who has no Yiras Shamayim from doing what he wants? See, Bishlam, a person has Yiras Shamayim, he's not going to kill you because Hashem said no. But if somebody doesn't believe in Hashem and you have 25 cents and he doesn't, why wouldn't he kill you? Teretz is because he's scared of the government. So therefore, the message is daven for the shalom of the government. And Rabbi Yaina says that this means that you should care about the world at large. Slightly different than I was saying. You should care about the world at large. And therefore, you should daven for the government, because if the government's working, then the world at large is working. So we see from here a message to go ahead and care for other people. I wanted to say that it's be appreciative of the world, everything in the world, because everything has a purpose. You want to know the purpose of the government, even though they're taking taxes and this and that? No, there's a good purpose of the government. There's a purpose for everything, and therefore daven for the purpose of the government. Of course, there are those who say, okay, what's if we're davening for the government? By the way, there are people who say a tefillah for the government, which is a nice thing actually, because it's probably because of this Mishna. There are those who say, every Shabbos, I'm not sure if it's every time that they would say for Torah, but every Shabbos they say at least a tefillah for the government. It's a fine thing. Because we're supposed to daven for the government. But how close should you feel to the government? The answer is, and this we've repeated many, many times, that we have to realize that we are American Jews. We are American Jews. In other words, our main thing is that we are Jewish and we happen to be loyal Americans. But our main loyalty is to Hashem and to the Torah. Life is Torah, Torah, Torah. Or if you want, Hashem, Hashem, Hashem. And one of those things is that just like we like cheese and you like yogurt, we are also Americans and we will be loyal to the country. But we are not Americans first. We are not Jewish Americans. And this is something that has to be stressed again and again. Just because they're into, Super Bowl is like the biggest day of the world, the biggest day of the year, it's not us. We're Torah, Torah, Torah. Okay, that's number 2. Mishna 3. Rabbi Chanina ben Teradion and Mishnayim Sheyeshin ve'en b'neihem divrei Torah. If you have 2 people who are sitting there and they don't have Torah amongst them, Harizim Moshe Leitzim. This is a group of Leitzim, scoffers, people who are Leitzim. They take the most important thing and they turn it. They make fun of it. A good joke is not a letz. Somebody who has a good sense of humor is not a letz. Somebody who takes something important and trivializes it, that's a letz. So somebody who's sitting and he's never learning, that's a letz. He's taking life and he's trivializing it. Therefore, a person should not sit in Torah and sit without any Torah. Aval, Shnam Sheyeshin v'yesh b'neihem divrei Torah. 2 people are sitting there and they do have Torah. Shechina sherui b'neihem. The Shechina is there. As it states, Shenemar oz nidbaru yirei Hashem. Then the people who are fearful of Hashem will speak. Ish el rehu, one man to his friend. V'yakshiv Hashem v'yishma. And Hashem will listen and talk. And Hashem will listen. And v'yikasiv sefer zikaron lefanov, and it will be written in a sefer in front of him. V'yirei Hashem v'lechosh v'shemai. To those who fear Hashem and to those who give credence to His words. Ein li el shnayim. I only know 2. Minayin shafilu echad sheyoshev v'yisub b'tar. I don't know even one. Shakadosh Baruch Hu kaveil eschar. Hashem gives him reward. Shenemar Yeshiv Badat v'Yidam ki notal alav. He sits there silent and he sits there by himself. The Yidam and is thinking about Torah, and he will take a reward on that. And I'm just going to do the next Mishnah because it's very similar. Rabbi Shimon Amar Shleish Shachal Ashochan Echad V'Lo Amru Olav Divrei Torah. 3 people who are sitting in on one table and they're not saying Torah. Kilu Eichlu Mizibchei Mesim. It's as if they're eating from idols. Shenemar Ki Kol Shulchanos Molei Ki Yitzoya B'Li Makom. They're sitting there without Hashem at tables full of vomit. Aval Shleish Shachal Ashochan Echad. But 3 that are eating on one Suda. V'Amru Olav Divrei Torah, and they are saying Torah. Kilu Achlu Mishulchanos Shel Makom. They're eating as if they're eating from Hashem. Shenemar V'Yidaber Elai Zeh Ashochan Shel Lefnei Hashem. So we see from here either one way or the other. Either you're for us or you're against. Go with Hashem, and that's there's a lot of messages to take from here, but we're way over time, so I'm going to stop over here. But and we'll continue tomorrow from the next Mishnah. Have an amazing, amazing day.